Here we are.
Hey.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, y'all.
So, well, there's nobody there yet, but we'll give it time. We'll give it a minute before we go live. And talk about small business in America.
And Texas, which is
And
still
Texas in
America.
particular, because that's our jam.
Jam. Do you like jam?
Who doesn't like jam?
I don't know that I like jam.
What's the difference between jam and jelly?
I would guess texture.
You think? I don't know.
I mean, wouldn't jam have like the pieces of fruit? Or
I thought that would be preserves.
Okay, so then I don't know.
Okay, so see, you've got jelly, you've got jam, you've got preserves.
I eat apple butter. That's
and then
like
you've got
what
fruit
I
butters.
like.
But that's like, isn't that like applesauce?
I eat it on bread. I don't know.
I thought it was kind of runny, like applesauce. It's not?
No, it's spreadable. Like, I wouldn't call it like butter spreadable, but I would call it like jelly spreadable.
Interesting.
Back to jelly. If anybody is a jelly jam preservative specialist.
If anybody watching this knows the difference between jam, jelly, and preserves, throw it up in the comment section, please. Because inquiring minds want to know.
Inquiring minds will be Googling as soon as this is over.
We will be Googling jam, jelly, and preserves very soon.
So if you see a LinkedIn post, it came from this live.
Yeah. The difference between jam, jelly, and preserves. Yes. So, we've got two. So, we're just sitting here talking about jam, jelly, and preserves before we roll the intro.
I mean,
I wonder how many small businesses in America are in the production of jam, jelly, or preserves.
I mean, I don't know. So it's really funny. The only thing I know about like jam at all is that Scandal, if anybody watches Scandal, y'all or did watch Scandal when it came out, they were going to move to Vermont and make jam. And so that's it. That's all I know. Hi, Andrew. How are you?
Hey, Andrew. It's good to see you. Thanks for coming.
We're discussing the very important topic of jams, jellies, and preserves. Waiting on everybody to get a chance to jump on. We know how you can go, oh, they're live. Let me jump in. So just waiting a minute.
I know. Okay. So, well, we've probably wasted enough time. So, what do you think? Should we
roll the intro?
Should we get here? Roll the intro. Here we go. We'll see y'all in a second.
Hey again.
Hello, and welcome to the Down Home Texas Business Show. I am Tammy Fisher, enrolled agent.
Oh, sorry. I am Amanda Adams, CPA.
And we're going to talk today about the world of small business in the U.S. and in Texas. We've got some stats for you and some facts for you and some tips and tricks and all of that up our sleeve because Amanda and I are passionate about small business. We work with small businesses, and small business is our jam. jam or jelly or preserves, whichever
No,
you like the best, or fruit butter, even. I don't
fruit
know.
butter. We'll go with
So
fruit butter.
we'll go with fruit butter. Okay. So, so Amanda, question. What do you like the best about working with a small business?
So I've thought about this a lot since we originally had our conversation, you and I, when we were planning this episode. We do a little planning beforehand, guys, if y'all don't know that. Um, and so we talked about this last week, and I really thought about this a lot over the weekend, and I'm going to change my answer a little bit. So I love the impact that we're able to have with small businesses, their families. And that for me really comes from I am one of 8 kids in a really large family. We grew up really poor, and I'm the first one to go through college all the way up to a master's degree and my certification. And one of the things that made that possible was I got a scholarship to go to college. And part of our pillars were giving back as service. And I am so forever grateful for that. And I don't express that on my LinkedIn a lot. I haven't talked about it. It is on my LinkedIn, but I don't explicitly talk about it. But that really is, it was life changing for me. And being able to help other people have life changing events like that through their business. So that's why I work with small business. I want to create generational wealth in my own family with my own kids. And I want to help people be able to do that in their families. And I think the impact is so much greater. However, when we were talking about those stats earlier, which I know we're going to get to, one of them in particular really shocked me, that the amount of businesses classified as small businesses. So I guess Tammy, I want to hear why you like working with small businesses, but also should say that we don't necessarily think of our small businesses in the same way that statistics do.
That's a good point, and we will talk about that in just a second. But let me answer your question. Why do I like working with small businesses? Okay. Um, because I am a small town girl living in a lonely world.
No, you are not.
I took a midnight train going, no, I didn't. Anyway, I am from a small town born and raised in Central Texas. Um, so without without small business, and I'm talking small business, towns like the ones I grew up in and the ones that I live in now dry up and go away. Okay. They become nothing, just a forgotten place on a map. So, and I have seen that happen. I have seen small towns, and you probably have too. In fact, we probably all have driven through them. These, you know, once bustling places that are now nothing but a bunch of old buildings, um, shut down. But I've also seen what happens when a community and a development district in a community supports small business and the growth of small business. Those communities come back to life, and there's just this bubbling of excitement that you can feel, and it's contagious. And they work to restore communities and to help them grow and share that excitement. I think small business, and again, I'm talking about small, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. Um, People who start a small business are in it for several things. They're in it to create a family legacy, and to create their own family wealth. They're in it to be the captain of their own destinies, which I am a huge fan of. And they are there to provide opportunities and to participate in their communities in meaningful ways. And I am 100% supporter of all of those things and always will be. That is what I love about working for a small business. And I'm a cheerleader, so I like to stand behind them and just say, go, 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 and get after it.
You can't always be a cheerleader. Sometimes we got to be the coach going, hey, man, you can't do it that way.
Yeah, yeah. I can do that too. Hey, I can put my mean face on just as fast as I can get my cheerleader face on. But I'm like a yapping Pomeranian, a yapping Chihuahua. Yap, 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 yap.
I have never pictured you that way. However, I can totally.
Yeah. You can see me in the background going. Rah, 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 rah.
Exactly.
So,
I'm just envisioning next year's costumes for Halloween are gonna have a Pomeranian theme.
It might be. They might be. So let's talk about what is a small business. What is a small business? All right. So there are different ways to define this. The U.S. Small Business Administration has a hugely broad definition. They say it's a business that makes anywhere from $0 to $40 million in revenues and has, 0 to over 1,500 employees. Well, that is not the way we define small business. And I think that's probably not the way most people would define small business, right?
No, I mean, I'm thinking 500 plus, you probably at least move to mid-tier.
I would think so. Yeah.
But it seems like it's small or large business, that kind of mid-tier.
It's like, right. It's almost like they don't have a mid-tier. They're just saying there's small and then there's large. And then their small is a huge list of stats so that they can throw all of these things into that category and say, oh, look at all these small business numbers. Look at the percentages, and all that. Well, okay, that's true. But we can break that down a little bit because they do break things down by number of employees. So what we can say for sure is, and I've got my notes over here to the side, so that's why I'm looking over here. Okay, so I know because I did look up some data for y'all. We can say, per the SBA, 99.9% of all business in the U.S. is classified as a small business.
That's the one I disagree with. I mean, I get the classification. I understand. Let's be honest, 99.9% of businesses are not small. So that's the one I alluded to before. I just disagree.
Right. But let's take that and let's break it down a little further. 70% of that number is owned and individually operated. So that breaks it down a little bit further. And at 70%, that's still a really large number, right?
A really large number.
Okay. Really large number. Okay. And then 89% of those companies have fewer than 20 employees. Those are the companies that we're talking about. Those are the businesses that, correct me if I'm wrong, but those are the businesses that we are talking about, small business, right? And 40% have under $100,000 in annual revenue.
Yep. Now,
so these are hardworking people out there just going for it.
Now, our goal with any of our clients is definitely, if you want to make more than $100,000, we are your cheerleader, right? Like, we're not
absolutely, we are your cheerleader.
That's your limit, your cap, even your goal. It may start out there, but let's move the needle and keep growing if that's what you want to do.
Right. Absolutely. And there are things that you have to do to make that needle move.
Oh, but that's a whole other conversation.
That's a whole nother, well, that's a whole nother show, probably.
That's like 10 shows. We could get
It could
into
be.
some detail with that.
It could be.
I
I'm going to
digress,
throw this
y'all.
graphic up.
Andrew,
know.
I am a cheerleader, except for I was not in high school. Timmy, were you a cheerleader in high school?
No, I was on the flag corps. I was a band kid.
I
Go
was a
band.
yearbook kid.
I was on the flag corps.
Yearbook.
I was captain of the flag corps 2 years in a row.
Mm-mm.
And I can still do the.
Okay, I need to get you
Anyway,
with Lily, my daughter.
Nobody wants to see that.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Do we? No, we don't.
Yes.
Okay, back to the subject. Let's go back to the subject. We're gonna throw up a. Well, I thought I was. We're gonna throw up a stat here. Okay, so this is what we were talking about with the number of small businesses in relations to the number of employees. The last data that we have on this is from 2021. So, but you can see here how they've broken it down, and this is from the SBA. So the numbers get less as you go. The numbers of businesses drop the more employees you get, which makes sense. But that number 5, what is it? Less than 5? That's
4.6.
That's a lot of people.
So in the category that Tammy and I were talking about of less than 20 employees, which would be up to 19, it's 7 million establishments in the US. That's
7 million.
That's a lot of small business.
It's a lot of small business. It really is. Let's talk about in Texas alone, 99.8% of the business in Texas is small business. That's 3.1 million.
Wow,
and
we make up a huge portion of the U.S.
We do. We absolutely do. Texas is one of the states that is preferred to start a business.
I can't imagine why.
Can you imagine why? Yeah, I bet you can't. Yeah, that no state income tax is very attractive.
No state income tax. I mean, if you don't incorporate no franchise tax, we have a high threshold for the franchise tax.
We do.
I mean, lots of small businesses, it really does make sense why they would be here.
Why they would be here. What in your opinion, what is the most complicated state to establish a small business in?
New York.
I'm going to say New York or California.
Yeah, I haven't done a lot with California. I'm going to be really honest. It's one I've avoided like the plague. But I have worked in New York, and so I would say that New York and California are the two that I am least thrilled to incorporate or have. I think even Colorado might have some intricacies.
Colorado? Really?
I think Colorado. I think so.
Maybe. I think, what about Washington State? Do they have some weird stuff going on up there?
The only time I really dealt with Washington State was somebody who lived in another state and they worked in a cross state line in Washington, and it kind of created some who gets
unusual stuff.
Does everybody tax it? Does nobody tax it?
Yeah.
No,
I can guarantee you the answer is not that last one. Somebody is going to tax it. And maybe all three of them.
Yep.
Right?
And that's why everybody
Somebody
wants to
is
work in
going to
Texas.
tax it. That's funny. So by industry, well, this is in Texas. By industry, the number one small business in Texas by employee count. What do you think it is?
Small business? Yes, it has to be small, but
It's a
oil
small business.
field?
It's the number one business. Wait. It's the number one in business, small business. If you're talking about, they have the fewest employees.
Oh, fewest employees.
Like they have the fewest employees of small businesses. But it's the number one industry for this. What do you think it is in the state of Texas? This made sense when I read it.
I have no idea. And it's going to make complete sense. I know the minute you say
It's
it,
going to make
it's gonna
complete
click.
sense when you read it. When I tell you. You want me to tell you?
Yeah.
Construction.
I mean,
Construction.
I can see it. So I was going to say oil field or construction, because in Texas, those are kind of sometimes interchangeable depending on what you're doing. Not that I think the oil field and construction are the same. But that's not shocking.
It's not shocking. It is not. Yeah. Construction makes up nearly 400,000 businesses in Texas with under 25 employees.
That's not shocking. I can't tell you how many small construction business owners my husband and I have a construction business
all the time.
And so we deal with a lot of subcontractors, and I'm thinking about every person, and none of them are outside that threshold.
Right.
They all have
a lot of them are. They're all simply just they work for themselves by themselves. Yeah.
Or they have a few employees, but no. Okay, that is not shocking, but shocking.
Not shocking, but shocking. Yeah. Okay, and here is another one that I found that I thought was interesting. It breaks down business ownership by demographic group. And we were talking about this, wondering the makeup between men and women business ownership when it comes to small business. So here it is. Women business owners are at 43.4%. So it's not quite 50-50.
But higher than I would think.
Was that higher than what you thought it would be?
Okay, so I'm going to say something, unpopular opinion here. I think it's skewed a little bit. And what I mean by that is I know here in Texas that a lot of companies, I don't think it is as good as it looks on paper. A lot of companies are women owned because the wife puts it in her name because that makes them a minority business in Texas. I know lots of companies here in my hometown that are doing that. So even though it's such a high percentage of women, I don't think those are truly all women-owned businesses.
Yeah. That's probably true. People do that. So let me run that by you for just a second. People ask me that all the time. When they're starting a business, it's a husband and wife couple, and they'll say, oh, let's put the business in my wife's name, or let's make her the bigger percentage owner, partner, whatever. So that it'll be a minority owned business and a woman owned business. And then we'll get a lot of tax breaks. Are there tax breaks?
I have never seen anybody do it for the tax breaks. No. I see them do it for the contracts. So
there you go.
So it's being done normally as a way to make them eligible at a higher threshold to get a contract. So, if it's a government contract, they have to at least let so much of a percentage be minority owned businesses to even bid the
Right.
project.
Yeah, that's what I tell people too. I'm like, there's no tax incentive to being a woman-owned business or a minority-owned business. There's not a tax credit out there for being a woman or
I
a minority.
wish.
I wish there was, but there's not. But where it does come into play is funding resources and contract approval if you're going for government type contracts
Yep.
on pretty much any governmental level. You get an advantage if you are a minority owned business and or woman owned. So
Yep, because those
just
are
a little side note.
yeah, those are funding requirements. If it's a government owned entity, they have requirements to get their projects funded. Of so much of this needs to be minority driven payouts.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, let's see. What else do I have here? 50% of small. Oh, wait. I'm sorry.
Will you throw that graphic back up really fast? One thing that
Yeah.
we did talk about that we didn't touch on because we talked about the women owned was the disparity between veterans.
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up. I wanted to say that. I am shocked at how few businesses are owned by veterans.
Me too. This one, maybe
wonder why
because
that is.
we know so many veterans personally,
Yeah.
it seemed disproportionate to me very much. But I was very, very shocked by that one. So I wanted to throw that back up there just to quickly point it out. And I'm really shocked.
I wonder why it's so low. Of course, and I didn't think to look that up, but I wonder,
I
that
really
makes me
don't
start thinking. I
know.
mean, it makes me think things. I wonder if it has to do with retirement rates amongst the military, if it has to do with I wonder what the percentage of veterans are who are disabled
Yeah.
or unable to work, if that plays into it. But that number is really low, really low.
And is it maybe a barrier to entry? I don't know this. This is
So
I would think this is my non-veteran perspective that in the military and being a veteran, the steps are laid out for you. You follow the path, right? And and something that we're also going to jump into in this episode is that's not how business works. So could that be a barrier to entry?
it could be.
Maybe.
We should be making notes for when we talk to William.
Yes, we should. William, if you are watching, we are so excited to hear your input on that as a veteran in Texas.
Yes, and someone who works with veterans. So that's going to be interesting, very interesting. I don't know a lot about Hispanic-owned businesses and other minority-owned. I know enough to know that those numbers are usually low.
Mm-hmm.
And that that minorities don't have the same they don't have the same path that a lot of us do, and women minorities don't have the same path that other business owners have.
So
So it
helping
means it's
change that is kind of what we're here for, right? We're here
yeah.
to talk about that and maybe be some encouragement to some of those people
And
who need it.
well, yeah, and personally in our businesses, not just encouragement, but actual help to find you the right resources to make sure you're doing things the right way, so you don't get surprised later on by something that fell through the cracks that shouldn't have.
Uh, yeah, which leads us to our next set of your statistics in what causes our businesses to fail.
Yeah,
Um,
fail rates.
fail rates. I'm really disappointed with our fail rates and how high those are in such a
Yeah. So small business failure rates. Year one, the failure rate is 20%. Year two, it rises to 30%. By year five, 50% of small businesses are no longer in existence. That's really sad.
yeah. And why do you think that is? Like, I know from an accounting standpoint that we could say a million things. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of it is it's going to go back to that, those little 8 letters and it's 2 words and we know it's super important
What
in
is it?
cash flow.
Oh, okay. I was like, what is it?
Yeah.
It is. That's the number one, that is listed as the number one reason that a small business will fail is that they have cash flow issues.
But when you say cash flow issues, what kinds of things are actually being
What do you
encompassed in
mean?
that?
um, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I know personally what I see. That's what I'm going to answer with.
Yes.
Okay. So that's what I'm going to answer with. In my experience, what I see is um, not understanding. This is the big one for me. Not understanding business financials and not understanding how to operate a business financially, because it's not like personal finances and you can't run it like that. So in a lot of cases has to do with it has to do with education, and I don't mean somebody has to have a college degree or anything like that. What I mean is going into business and being willing to learn, even if it means teaching yourself things like um, profit margins, cost of goods, um, labor costs.
Overhead.
You ha- Overhead. I mean, there are so many things that you need to know, and it doesn't. It this is small business across the board. It doesn't matter what industry it is. It doesn't matter if you're selling a product, if you're selling a service. There are things about your costs that you need to know that you can't figure out if you aren't educated enough to be able to do it. And if you don't want to learn how to do it, find somebody who will do it for you.
Amen to that.
Right? You have to. I don't I and you see this a lot too. We see a lot of people running their small business by the balance they have in their bank account.
Yep. And that is why they have a cash flow issue.
Cash flow issue. Yes, right. That's exactly why they have a cash flow issue. And they don't know, and I tell this to potential clients all the time. Are you making money?
I don't know.
Yes or no? I don't know. The true answer is you don't know. And you should know. You should know the answer to that question like that. You should know.
Well, I have money in my bank account.
Right. Well, that's not how this works. it's, not,
So,
it's not how any of this works.
so to dig in, and this is for anybody, Tammy and I are not going to dig in and solve all of the problems that companies face on this show. That is what we do in our businesses. That is what we get paid for. And we want to educate you on the things that you should be asking Tammy, myself, your accountant, your spouse. But we're not going to go through the nitty-gritty of those things on the show. However, we will touch on some of the things that we think are important for you to know. So when we're talking about cash flow, we're talking, guys, do you do your invoicing timely? Are you paying your payables too quickly? Are you taking deposits up front when you're having to spend out cash up front? Are you doing things to make sure that you have covered all of your expenses, even if they never finish paying you for a job? Have you covered your cost up front so that you don't go negative on a job? Those are conversations that we're having with our clients. And if you don't know what that means, you might want to be digging into that to understand it, because it is super important. That's how, it's not some crazy, mysterious thing in the universe that you can't understand. It is something that it's complicated. It can get complex. I won't say it can't, but it's not impossible for you to understand. So if you don't in your business, that's what we're here to kind of get that conversation going for you. So we're disheartened. Like Timmy said earlier in the show, we live in those small towns and we see the businesses closing, and we worry about our neighbors, the families, the generational cycles that it affects. So that's what we want to make sure that we do our part to help where we can. And those are the things we're talking about. It's simple but complex. I know that's an oxymoron. I know. But it is, depending on your business. Sometimes it's very, very simple. Send the invoice when you do the service.
Right. No, and send it, and please don't have your payment terms as, what is it, 30 days? 30 days out.
30 is good. I've seen them up to 90.
That's painful.
You did a service.
That's painful.
You don't get paid on for 90 days.
You may not get paid for 90 days. Are you able to float that? Because you need to be able to if it says 90 days. But these are things that this is what I see. Someone has a great idea, or they have a really cool talent and they're really good at it, and they hit the ground running. And this is the portion of it that they don't think about, or they don't fully understand until it's too late and they're this close to going under. That's when they start calling for help. So
very much so.
We want you to be on the right foot from the very beginning, from the get-go, or as close to the beginning as we can get you, so that you don't have to worry about things like that.
Which now is going to lead us into our tips for our small businesses. If you cannot tell, Tammy and I have very similar personalities, but we're also very, very different. And so when we broached this conversation, we came at it from two completely different perspectives. So Tammy, who do you want to go first?
You go first. Your top three. What are your top three tips for someone who is starting a small business or has started a small business and they want to stay alive?
Okay, so mine are more technical in nature. So mine are things that you need to know and be educated and having done something about it. So the first is you need to make sure you're in the right entity structure. So there are different entities. You can be a corporation, you can be a partnership, you can be a single member LLC, you can be a sole proprietor. And those words mean different things. They tax you in different ways. Some of them create new tax returns. Some of them protect you more than others. The way you pay yourself is different for each and every one of those. And so it really does matter for you to know your entity structure. Just know it, have been advised on what is the right thing for you. If you are cutting down trees near people's homes, I would never suggest that you be a sole proprietor ever, because the liability that a tree falls on somebody's house could be problematic for you personally, right? That's an advising issue. So if you are a tree trimmer, we just gave you free entity structure advice. Don't be a sole proprietor.
Be a sole proprietor.
So you
Love
need
it.
more protection. Know your entity. The second, do not neglect your accounting and taxes. I know. I cannot tell you how many times in my career I have been called a cost center. I don't make the companies that I work with any money that they see. I don't go out and do the tree trimming, if we're going to stick with that. I don't make them any money. So a lot of them think that it's a cost that can wait. But sometimes when you do that, it sets you up in this very vicious cycle that is very, very hard to get out of. So I'm going to just tell you, don't fall into the trap of not knowing your accounting numbers and being prepared to pay your taxes, whether that's payroll taxes, federal income taxes, state taxes, whatever taxes you have, you need to be prepared for them. And then the third thing along the same lines, insurance. You need to know what the requirements are for you to be, some people I work with have to be insured and bonded. And some people don't even know what that means. And they're working in professions where it's a very standard practice. So mine, again, are very technical. Tammy's are not going to be as technical. You'll see our personalities come out a little bit in this. I'm a CYA, cover your butt every chance you can. And these are some of the ways that you need to be covering yourself and limiting those liabilities. So
those are really, and those are good ones. Those are three very good tips. Mine are going to be a little more touchy-feely.
Which we need that too.
Which we need too. So my top three things that I want you to know if you're a small business owner or thinking about starting business. Number one, you should expect obstacles and be prepared to go around them or over them. They're going to happen. And some of the obstacles may even be very close to you. You may even be living in the same house with them. Just be ready. Just be ready. Number two, don't think you know everything. Be ready to ask for help. There's no shame in that. It's going to be the best thing that you ever did. please ask for help. People who don't ask for help are the ones that come and call us when it's almost too late. So let's do that. Surround yourself with people are who are smart and supportive, and be ready to lean on them and ask for their help, because it feels lonely when you own the business, but you don't have to be alone. And my number 3, and this is my big one, understand that you are making a commitment. There are people depending on you, not just your family. There are people in your community who are depending on you when you start this enterprise, um, that they're relying on your success. It means something to them, and it means something to me and to Amanda,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're joining a league of people who are brave and fearless. And if you're going to do it, be prepared to make that commitment and mean it. There are so many people out there who start it, and this is the way I put it. They start it up and they're just playing.
Yep.
They don't take it seriously. For them, this is just, you know what? This is just what I'm going to go here every day, and I'm going to act like a big business owner. This is going to make me somebody in the community. Um, this is going to be a reason that I get to go on vacations, something like that. You need to be seeing the bigger picture and seeing this as commitment, because the people around you and the community around you depends on your success, just as you depend on their success. It's a microcosm. So think about that and take
It
it
is
serious.
it is such a when you put it that way, and Tammy touched on some of the people, the community, but we're not talking Texas as a whole, right? We're
Right.
talking the neighbor next door and
Mhm.
their son who's learning how to be an entrepreneur from you, who
Sure.
maybe is you're instilling that spirit in them and you don't know that yet. It
You
is
don't know.
I know that we talk so much about our commitments to our family and our employees, and those things, they matter. Do not mistake what I'm saying, but it is even further reaching than that.
It is. And it's not just small town America either. Because you think in your large cities, your neighborhood businesses count as small businesses. Your coffee shop that you walk to down on the corner, that's owned by, a mom and pop. If they dry up and go away, what happens to your neighborhood? What happens to, your little area of the city that you live in? Think of it as a small town, because that's what it is. It's a small town inside a big city. And we all depend on each other. Ultimately, we all depend on each other.
Yeah, I mean, I don't work with businesses like the couple that I'm about to use as examples. I have a friend who does, and that's why I know about these two specific examples. But the photographer who is just barely starting, but who you have intentions of using a year from now when your child is a senior like mine and they need their senior pictures done. Um, or the cookie baker who does every single special occasion for your family. If they go out of business, what happens? you've lost who you were going to use, because they're no longer in business, but they've lost their livelihood or had to change their life, their kids' lives. A lot of the reason that people start businesses, I am going to give people the benefit of the doubt and not put that the majority is money. I think the majority is impact. I think the bigger majority, yes, money matters, flexibility matters, but I think a huge majority of us, I'm a small business owner, Tammy's a small business owner, it's impact. We want to make that impact. So when we were talking about the show, we wanted to stress, especially as we're coming into the holiday season, shop local, shop small business. Yes, it may cost you a little bit more money. So what? Susie got to keep doing her dance lessons. Yes, thank you. It costs a little bit more money. Sometimes they don't have the big fancy contracts to get their costs down because they're just not there. They're still having to buy supplies at the big chains. I'm not going to call out any big chains. I don't want it to think we're endorsing anybody.
I know. I'm like you. We need the big chains. I'm not going to knock them.
No,
we need them. They have their place in the system, and I shop at them. You shop at them. Mm-hmm. We always will. But we're coming up on a time of year where it's a really great opportunity for you to get out local, get out in your neighborhoods, in your communities, and look for these small business owners, these entrepreneurs that are doing great things in your community, and check them out. See what they've got. I mean, you may be surprised to find some treasure, really.
Be supportive. Farmers markets.
Always.
There are so many things that you can do to really make a difference. So we want to throw that out there because when we say it's our passion.
You know what they sell at farmers markets?
Everything.
Jams, jellies, and preserves. They call it that's in the showbiz lingo. That's a callback.
We went full circle in this episode.
We went full circle. You knew we were going to come full circle.
Okay, promise, guys, that was not planned. That is a hallelujah God moment. Full circle.
Full circle. All right. Well, this has been fun. I think we've covered a lot of ground here. I think if we have any questions, any comments, make them. We'll come back and we'll try to keep up with the conversation. And do we want to give a little teaser for our next show on November 20th? That's our Thanksgiving episode.
Can we just give the title, and those who know know. The title.
You have the title, don't you?
I have the title. Can we just give the title?
Let's give the title. Yeah, let's go ahead and give it because we have before you give it, I'm just going to say November 20th is our next episode. It'll be episode 3. It's going to be our Thanksgiving episode. And we have a special guest coming on that we are so excited about. And now you can give the title.
So our title is Beneath the Mustache, Unveiling Core Values This Thanksgiving Episode. So it is a mouthful, but there are some hints in there to who our special guest will be. And we are so very, very excited to talk about the values that we have and the values that you may want to think about in your companies, and our special guest.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. And there will be lots of thankfulness going on that week. But there's lots of thankfulness going on every day, right?
Yes.
Right. We've got a lot to be grateful for. So with that said, we are grateful to you for hanging out and being with us today. And I guess now we'll sign off and see you next time.
Y'all have a great 2 weeks.
Yeah. Have a great 2 weeks. Shop small, shop local. That's it. Peace out.
Bye, y'all.